Everyone toasted to her. No one even acknowledged me. I picked up the empty cups, smiled, and left early. Hours later, Mom's crying her eyes out. Did you do something? I never thought I'd be writing this story, but after everything that's happened, I need to get it out. Some of you might think I went too far, others might say I didn't go far enough. You can judge for yourselves. My name is Rebecca, and I'm 28 years old. This story is about my sister Madison, who's 25, and how one family barbecue changed everything between us forever. To understand what happened, you need to know about our family dynamic. Madison has always been the golden child. She's beautiful, charismatic, and has this way of making everyone fall in love with her the moment they meet her. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister, but growing up in her shadow wasn't easy. Madison is a social media influencer with over 2 million followers on Instagram. She posts lifestyle content, fashion hauls, and motivational quotes that somehow resonate with thousands of people. She makes more money in a month than most people make in a year, all from posting perfectly curated photos of her seemingly perfect life. Me? I'm an accountant. I work for a small firm downtown, helping small businesses manage their finances. It's not glamorous, but I'm good at it, and I find satisfaction in helping people organize their financial lives. The problem is, no one in my family seems to think what I do matters. Every family gathering is the same. Madison walks in like she's gracing us with her presence, and suddenly everyone's attention shifts to her. They want to hear about her latest brand deals, her exotic vacations, her famous friends. Meanwhile, I'm invisible, cleaning up after everyone and making sure things run smoothly. But the barbecue 3 weeks ago was different. That was the day everything changed. It was supposed to be a casual family get-together. Mom had invited about 20 people including aunts, uncles, cousins, and some family friends. Madison had just gotten back from a month-long trip to Europe, documenting her adventures for her followers, and everyone was eager to hear her stories. I arrived early to help Mom set up. I spent 2 hours arranging tables, setting up decorations, preparing side dishes, and making sure everything looked perfect. Madison showed up an hour after everyone else, looking flawless as usual in a designer sundress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The moment she walked into the backyard, it was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, I might as well have been part of the furniture. Everyone swarmed her, eager to hear about her trip to Italy, her photo shoot in Paris, her meeting with some celebrity I'd never heard of. I watched from the sidelines as she held court, regaling everyone with stories that I'm sure were embellished for dramatic effect. She showed photos on her phone, passed around expensive gifts she bought, and basked in the attention like it was her birthright. "Madison, you're living the dream," Uncle Frank said, raising his beer. "Here's to our little superstar." Everyone raised their glasses. Beer bottles, wine glasses, soda cans, all held high in Madison's honor. The toast went on for what felt like forever, with person after person adding their own praise. To Madison, who's shown us that dreams really do come true. To our Madison, who's conquered the world. To the most successful person in our family. I stood there, empty-handed, watching 20 people toast to my sister's success. Not one person looked my way. Not one person acknowledged that I existed. But what really got to me wasn't the toast itself. It was what happened right after. As soon as the toast ended, people started putting their empty glasses and bottles down wherever they were standing. On the tables, on the deck railing, on the patio steps. And guess who automatically started collecting them? Me. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, picking up empty cups and bottles, wiping down surfaces, emptying ashtrays. Nobody thanked me. Nobody even seemed to notice I was doing it. They were all too busy hanging on Madison's every word. I made trip after trip to the kitchen, loading the dishwasher, taking out trash, organizing the recycling. Meanwhile, Madison sat in the center of it all like a queen holding court, not lifting a finger to help with anything. "Rebecca's always been so helpful," I heard Mom say to Aunt Linda as I walked past with another load of dishes. It wasn't said with pride or gratitude. It was said with the same tone you'd use to comment on the weather. Just a fact, nothing special about it. That's when it hit me. I wasn't helpful. I was just the help. After 3 hours of this, I'd reached my limit. I was tired of being invisible. Tired of cleaning up after people who couldn't even be bothered to acknowledge my existence. Tired of watching my sister get praised for taking selfies while I did actual work that kept the family functioning. So I did something I'd never done before. I left. I didn't make a big scene. I didn't announce my departure or say goodbye to anyone. I simply put down the last stack of plates I'd collected, grabbed my purse, and walked out the front door. Nobody noticed. I drove home to my apartment, took a long bath, and ordered Chinese takeout. For the first time in months, I had a peaceful evening. No cleaning up after anyone, no listening to Madison's stories for the 100th time, no pretending to be happy while being completely ignored. But around 10 o'clock that night, my phone started buzzing. Text after text from my brother Jake. Rebecca, where did you go? Mom's asking about you. Did something happen? Call me when you get this. I ignored them and went to bed. The next morning, my phone was full of missed calls and messages. Jake, Mom, even Dad had texted. But nothing from Madison, of course. She probably hadn't even realized I'd left. I called Jake back while getting ready for work. Rebecca, thank God, he said as soon as he picked up. What happened yesterday? Mom said you just disappeared. I left early, I said calmly. I was tired. But you didn't say goodbye to anyone. Mom was worried sick. She thought something was wrong. Nothing was wrong. I just decided to leave. There was a pause. This isn't like you, Rebecca. You always stay until the end to help clean up. And there it was. The expectation. The assumption that I would always be there to clean up everyone else's mess, to stay until the very end making sure everything was taken care of, never mind what I wanted or how I felt. Maybe I don't want to do that anymore, I said. Jake was quiet for a moment. Look, I think you should call Mom. She's really upset. I told him I'd think about it and hung up. But I didn't call Mom. Not that day, or the next day, or the day after that. Instead, I did something else. I started documenting. See, being an accountant has taught me the value of keeping detailed records. I'm meticulous about tracking expenses, recording transactions, noting patterns. It's second nature to me. So I started applying those same skills to my family relationships. I went through my phone and social media, making notes of every family event over the past 2 years. Every birthday party, holiday gathering, barbecue, and casual get-together. I documented who did what, who helped with setup and cleanup, who got attention and praise, who got ignored. The pattern was stark and undeniable. At every single event, I had arrived early to help set up. At every single event, I had stayed late to clean up. At every single event, Madison had been the center of attention while I worked in the background. At every single event, I had been invisible. But I didn't stop there. I started looking at the financial aspect too. Madison might make a lot of money from her social media career, but she's terrible with finances. She spends everything she makes and then some. And guess who's been quietly helping her out for years? Mom and Dad. I went through public records, social media posts, and family conversations I remembered. I pieced together a financial picture that would shock anyone who thought Madison was this completely independent, self-made success story. Her car? Mom and Dad co-signed the loan and make half the payments. Her apartment? Dad put down the security deposit and pays part of the rent. Her credit cards? Mom has been making minimum payments when Madison overspends. That month-long European vacation everyone was so impressed by? Funded by a loan from Dad that I knew would never be repaid. I calculated that over the past 3 years, our parents had given Madison approximately $47,000 in direct financial support. Money they could have used for their own retirement, money they could have offered to Jake or me, money that Madison never acknowledged or seemed grateful for. Meanwhile, I had never asked them for a penny. I paid my own bills, built my own savings, and even helped them with their taxes for free every year. But here's the thing that really got to me. I started looking at Madison's social media with fresh eyes, and I realized something disturbing. She was lying. Not just embellishing or exaggerating, but flat out lying about her life. Her posts made it look like she was completely self-sufficient, living this amazing independent lifestyle funded entirely by her own success. She posted about working hard for everything I have and never giving up on my dreams. There was no mention of Mom and Dad's financial support. No acknowledgement that her lifestyle was subsidized by our parents' retirement savings. She was taking credit for a level of success that wasn't entirely her own, while our parents struggled to pay their own bills. That's when I decided it was time for some truth. But I didn't want to just confront Madison or tell Mom and Dad what I discovered. I wanted to do something that would make a real impact, something that would force everyone to see the reality they'd been ignoring. So I started planning. First, I created a detailed financial report. I'm good at making complex information easy to understand, and I put together a comprehensive breakdown of Madison's actual financial situation versus her public persona. Income, expenses, debt, family contributions, everything laid out in clear, undeniable numbers. Then I created a second report documenting the family dynamic I'd observed. Every event, every task, every moment of praise or recognition or help, all tracked and categorized. It painted a clear picture of how much work I did behind the scenes while Madison got all the credit. But I still needed the right moment to reveal everything. I needed an audience, and I needed maximum impact. But before I get to how I revealed everything, I need to tell you about what happened during those 5 days after the barbecue. Because that's when I really started to see just how deep this pattern went. The Monday after the barbecue, I was at work when my phone buzzed with a notification. Madison had posted a new Instagram story. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. It was a perfectly curated photo of her Sunday evening, complete with designer candles, a glass of expensive wine, and a caption that read, "Sunday vibes after the most amazing family barbecue yesterday. So grateful for my incredible family who always supports my dreams. Nothing better than quality time with the people who matter most. #blessed, #family, #Sunday vibes." She had tagged the location as Home Sweet Home and added several family photos from the barbecue, including ones where I was clearly visible in the background carrying plates and cleaning up. But in her caption, there was no mention of anyone else. No thanks to Mom for hosting, no acknowledgement of the work that went into making the day happen, no recognition that other people existed beyond being props for her content. The post had already gotten thousands of likes and hundreds of comments from her followers gushing about how perfect her family was and how lucky she was to have such a supportive environment. I screenshotted everything. Every story, every post, every comment. I was building a case, though I didn't fully realize it yet. Tuesday brought another revelation. I was having lunch with my coworker Jessica when she mentioned seeing Madison's posts from the weekend. "Your sister's life always looks so perfect," Jessica said. "I saw her stories from your family thing. She makes it look like something out of a magazine." "Yeah, she's good at that," I replied, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Must be nice to have that kind of lifestyle. I mean, traveling all the time, that gorgeous apartment, all those designer clothes. The influence business must really pay well." I almost choked on my sandwich. Jessica had no idea that Madison's lifestyle was subsidized by our parents, and why would she? Madison's social media presence was specifically designed to hide that reality. "It's complicated," I said. "I bet you're proud of her though. Having a sister who's basically famous." Famous? That word stuck with me for the rest of the day. Madison wasn't famous for any particular talent or achievement. She was famous for appearing to have a perfect life, a life that wasn't even real. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Madison's entire Instagram feed systematically, not as a sister but as an accountant analyzing financial statements. What I found was disturbing. Post after post showed expensive restaurants, designer purchases, luxury experiences, and high-end products. She frequently posted about treating herself to things that cost more than most people's monthly salary. She shared photos from expensive salons, exclusive events, and boutique shopping trips. But when I cross-referenced these posts with what I knew about her actual income and expenses, the numbers didn't add up. Not even close. That trip to the spa she posted about 3 weeks ago? $200 for a facial and massage, posted with the caption "Self-Care Sunday." Working hard means treating yourself to the best. The designer purse she'd shown off last month? $800, with a caption about investing in quality pieces that last. The expensive dinner she documented 2 weeks before that? $150 for a meal for one, caption "Date night with myself at the best restaurant in the city." I started calculating. In just the past month, based on her social media posts alone, Madison had spent over $1,500 on things she portrayed as casual, everyday expenses. But her actual monthly income after taxes was maybe $2,500, and that was during a good month. Where was the money for rent? For groceries? For basic living expenses? For the car payment she couldn't afford? For the student loans I knew she had? The answer was obvious, but seeing it laid out so starkly was shocking. Wednesday brought the most infuriating discovery yet. I was scrolling through Madison's Instagram when I saw she'd posted a motivational quote over a perfectly staged photo of her workspace: "The secret to success is to start before you're ready." I didn't wait for permission to chase my dreams, and neither should you. Everything I have, I earned through hard work and determination. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't create the life you want. #motivation, #entrepreneur, #self-made, #hustle, self-made. That word made me physically angry. But what really got to me were the comments. Hundreds of young women responding with messages like "You're such an inspiration." And goals. And I wish I had your strength and independence. And you give me hope that I can make it on my own too. Madison was literally inspiring other people to believe in a version of independence and self-sufficiency that she herself had never achieved. She was selling a dream that she was living only because our parents were funding it. I thought about those young women following her, trying to emulate her lifestyle, maybe making financial decisions based on the false reality she was presenting. It felt almost predatory. That night, I called my friend Maria, who works in social media marketing. I asked her, hypothetically, what she thought about influencers who misrepresented their financial situations. "It's a huge problem," Maria said immediately. "There's so little transparency in the influencer world. People see these perfect lifestyles and don't realize that a lot of these influencers are either heavily in debt, being supported by family money, or getting way more free products and experiences than they disclose. Is that legal? I asked. Legally, it's a gray area unless they're failing to disclose paid partnerships. But ethically? It's pretty questionable. Especially when their audience is mostly young people who might make financial decisions based on what they see. What would happen if someone exposed that kind of thing? Depends on how they did it. If it was truthful and well documented, it could actually help their credibility in the long run. Audiences are starting to value authenticity over perfection. But it would definitely be painful in the short term. Thursday was when I started planning in earnest. I realized I had been enabling Madison's deception just as much as our parents had. By staying quiet about the financial support, by cleaning up after her at family events, by maintaining the family image that supported her social media persona, I was complicit in the lie. But I also realized I had the skills and knowledge to expose it effectively. I started working on the reports that night, staying up until 2 a.m. creating charts and graphs that told the real story of Madison's finances. I included everything: income, expenses, debt, family contributions, even projections showing how unsustainable her current path was. I also started documenting the family dynamic more systematically. I went through photos from the past year, noting who was working and who was being celebrated in each image. I made a timeline of family events and my contributions versus the recognition I received. The pattern was so clear that it was almost comical. In photo after photo, I was in the background setting up, cleaning up, or organizing while Madison posed in the center frame. At event after event, I did the work while she got the credit. Friday was when I made my decision. I was reviewing everything I'd compiled when I realized I had two choices. I could continue being invisible, continue enabling the dysfunction, continue pretending that everything was fine. Or I could force a confrontation that might change everything. The accountant in me appreciated the clarity of the choice. Continue with an unsustainable status quo, or take action that might lead to a better outcome for everyone involved. But I needed the right moment. I needed an opportunity where the whole family would be together, where the contrast between Madison's public image and reality would be most apparent. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Mom called me 5 days after the barbecue, and she sounded upset. "Rebecca, I don't understand what's going on with you," she said. "You left the barbecue without saying goodbye, you haven't returned my calls, and now Madison says you haven't responded to her messages either." This was news to me. I checked my phone and found a single text from Madison sent the day before: "Hey sis, missed you at the end of the barbecue. Hope you're okay." One text. 4 days later. And Mom was acting like I'd ignored a desperate attempt at communication. "I got one text from Madison," I said calmly. "I was planning to respond when I had time." "Rebecca, that's not like you. You always respond right away. Madison's worried that she did something to upset you." I almost laughed. Madison was worried she'd done something to upset me? She didn't even know I'd left early. "I'm fine, Mom. I've just been busy." "Well, I hope you'll make time for Madison's birthday party next weekend. She's having a big celebration at her apartment, and it wouldn't be the same without you there." Madison's birthday party. Perfect. "Of course I'll be there," I said. "I wouldn't miss it." "Good. And Rebecca? Could you maybe bring that layered dip you made for Easter? Everyone loved it, and Madison specifically requested it." There it was again. The assumption that I would provide labor for everyone else's benefit. But this time, I didn't mind. I had plans for that party. "Sure, Mom. I'll bring the dip." I spent the next week preparing. Not just the dip, but everything else I needed for what I was planning. I refined my reports, made copies, and rehearsed what I was going to say. The night before the party, I got a text from Madison: "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. BTW, could you come a little early to help me set up? You're so good at that stuff." I stared at that text for a long time. Even now, even when it was her party, her celebration, she expected me to show up early and work while she got ready to be the center of attention. Of course, I texted back. "What time works for you? Maybe around 4? Party starts at 6, but I want everything perfect." I showed up at Madison's apartment at exactly 4 p.m., carrying my famous layered dip and a folder that would change everything. Madison's place is gorgeous, of course. She rents a loft apartment in the trendy part of downtown, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. The rent alone is more than I make in a month, and I knew exactly who was helping her afford it. "Rebecca." Madison hugged me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't ignored my existence for most of the barbecue. "I'm so glad you're here. I need help moving some furniture and setting up the food table." For the next 2 hours, I helped transform her apartment into Party Central. I arranged furniture, set up decorations, organized food and drinks, and handled a dozen other tasks while Madison focused on getting herself ready. She emerged from her bedroom at 5:45, looking absolutely stunning in a designer dress that probably cost more than my car payment. She did a little twirl. "How do I look?" "Beautiful," I said honestly. Madison has never had to worry about looking anything else. "Perfect. People should start arriving soon. You're staying for the whole party, right? No disappearing act like last week?" So she had noticed I left early. "Interesting." "I'm staying," I said. "In fact, I have something special planned." The guests started arriving at 6, and it was like déjà vu. The same family members, the same family friends, the same dynamic as every other gathering. Madison held court in the center of her living room while everyone else revolved around her like planets around the sun. I fell into my usual role, making sure drinks were refilled, appetizers were stocked, and messes were cleaned up. But this time, I was watching everything with new eyes, taking mental notes of every interaction. Uncle Frank told the same story he told at the barbecue about Madison being an inspiration to young people. Cousin Sarah gushed about Madison's latest Instagram post from a fancy restaurant. Aunt Linda asked Madison for advice about her own daughter's social media presence. And through it all, I moved invisibly through the crowd, making sure everything ran smoothly while being completely ignored. At 8 o'clock, Dad tapped his wine glass to get everyone's attention. "I'd like to make a toast," he announced. "To our Madison, who turns 26 today and continues to amaze us all with her success and independence." Here we go again, I thought. Another toast to Madison while I stand here invisible. Everyone raised their glasses. I noticed Madison's smile, that practiced, perfect smile she uses for her photos. "Madison," Dad continued, "you've shown us what it means to follow your dreams and work hard to achieve them. You've built this incredible life entirely on your own, and we couldn't be more proud." Entirely on her own. That phrase hit me like a slap. "To Madison," Dad concluded. "The most independent and successful person we know." "To Madison." Everyone chorused, glasses raised high. I stood there again, watching 20 people toast to my sister's supposed independence and self-sufficiency, knowing exactly how untrue those words were. Knowing that I had documentation proving how untrue they were. As everyone drank and started to lower their glasses, I cleared my throat. "Actually," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I'd like to make a toast to." The room quieted. This was unusual. I never made toasts. "To Madison," I began, pulling the folder from my purse. "And to the truth." Madison's smile faltered slightly. She could sense something was different. "I've been thinking a lot lately about family," I continued. "About recognition and appreciation, and what it really means to be successful and independent." I opened my folder and pulled out copies of my financial report. So I did what I do best. I ran the numbers. "Rebecca," Mom said nervously, "what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth, Mom. Something that seems to be in short supply around here." I started handing out copies of the report to the people nearest me. This is a financial breakdown of Madison's actual income versus her expenses over the past 3 years. Madison's face went white. "Rebecca, stop. The numbers are fascinating," I continued, my voice steady and professional. "For instance, did everyone know that Madison's rent is $2,400 a month, but her documented income from social media averages only $3,200 a month before taxes?" Murmurs started around the room as people looked at the papers I distributed. "Or that her car payment is $600 a month, but Mom and Dad are co-signers who make half the payments?" "Rebecca, that's enough," Dad said sharply. "Actually, Dad, I'm just getting started. Because the really interesting number is this one." I pointed to a line on the report. $47,000. That's how much you and Mom have given Madison over the past 3 years to support her independent lifestyle. The room was completely silent now except for the sound of people flipping through pages. $47,000 that could have gone to your retirement savings. $47,000 that Madison has never acknowledged publicly, despite posting constantly about her self-made success. "This is private family business," Madison said, her voice shaky. "You have no right to share this with everyone." "You're right," I said. "It should be private. But you've made a career out of lying about it publicly. You post about working hard for everything you have while Mom and Dad drain their savings to pay for your lifestyle." I pulled out the second report. But the money isn't even the worst part. This report documents every family gathering over the past 2 years. Want to know what I found? "Rebecca, please stop," Mom pleaded. "At every single event, I arrived early to help set up. At every single event, I stayed late to clean up. At every single event, Madison was celebrated while I was ignored. I have become the invisible workhorse of this family while she gets all the credit and praise." Uncle Frank was studying the financial report with a confused expression. Wait, so Madison doesn't actually make enough to afford her lifestyle? Not even close, I said. And that European vacation everyone was so impressed by at the barbecue? The one where she posted about treating herself to the trip of a lifetime? Funded entirely by a loan from Dad. It wasn't a loan, Madison said defensively. It was a gift. A gift you never mentioned to your followers when you posted about paying for it yourself. Cousin Sarah looked up from the papers. Rebecca, I had no idea you felt overlooked. We all appreciate what you do. Do you? I asked. Because I left the barbecue early after spending 3 hours cleaning up while everyone toasted to Madison. How many of you noticed I was gone? Silence. That's what I thought. Madison was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You're ruining my birthday. How could you do this to me? I'm not doing anything to you, Madison. I'm just sharing the truth. The same way you share your version of the truth with your 2 million followers every day. That's different. That's my job. Your job is lying? My job is content creation. It's about inspiration and aspiration. People don't want to see the boring details of real life. You mean the boring details like our parents sacrificing their financial security to fund your lies? Dad stepped forward. Rebecca, that's enough. You've made your point. Have I, Dad? Because 5 minutes ago you were toasting to Madison's independence, even though you know you pay part of her rent every month. We help Madison because she's building something, Mom said. Her influence, her brand, it takes time to develop. She's 26 years old, Mom. When exactly is she going to become actually independent? When you and Dad have nothing left in savings. I looked around the room at faces showing confusion, embarrassment, and dawning understanding. I love my sister, I said. But I'm tired of pretending that what she does is more valuable than what I do. I'm tired of being invisible while she gets praised for a success story that isn't entirely true. And I'm tired of watching our parents enable her dishonesty while I work hard and get no recognition at all. Madison sank onto her couch, still crying. I never asked you to be invisible. I never said you weren't important. You didn't have to say it. You showed it every time you let me clean up your messes while you posed for selfies. You showed it when you didn't even notice I left the barbecue early. You showed it when you asked me to come early today to set up your own birthday party. I thought you liked helping. You're so good at organizing things. I do like helping. What I don't like is being taken for granted. What I don't like is watching our parents go into debt to support your fake lifestyle while I pay my own bills and get no credit for actually being independent. Jake, who had been quiet through all of this, finally spoke up. Rebecca, maybe this wasn't the best way to handle this. Really? Because I tried the subtle way for years. I tried just being the reliable one, hoping someone would notice and appreciate it. That didn't work. Sometimes you have to be direct. By humiliating Madison in front of the whole family? By telling the truth in front of the whole family. Madison humiliated herself by lying about her circumstances for years. Madison looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I never meant for it to go this far. The social media thing it got away from me. People expected a certain image, and I gave it to them. And you never thought about how that affected Mom and Dad? Or how it made the rest of us feel? I didn't think about it at all, she admitted quietly. I was just focused on building my brand, getting more followers, making more money. I thought if I could just get big enough, successful enough, then I could pay everyone back and it would all be worth it. But you're not getting big enough, Madison. Your follower growth has been flat for 8 months. Your engagement rates are declining. The influencer market is oversaturated, and you're not standing out anymore. She stared at me. How do you know that? Because I actually looked at your public posts and engagement instead of just believing your stories about how great everything is going. The room was quiet except for Madison sniffling and the occasional rustle of paper as people continued reading my reports. Finally, Aunt Linda spoke up. I think we all need to take a step back here. This is clearly a family issue that needs to be worked out privately. Is it, though? I asked. Because Madison's whole career is built on public image. She's made money by presenting a false version of her life to strangers on the internet. Maybe it's time for some public truth to balance that out. You wouldn't, Madison said, looking at me with fear in her eyes. Wouldn't what? Post about this. Share this information online. I hadn't actually been planning to do that, but her assumption was interesting. Why would that scare you if you haven't done anything wrong? Because it would ruin me. My whole career, everything I've built, it would all be over. You mean your whole career built on lies would be over? Madison was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised me. You're right. What? You're right about everything. I have been lying. I have been taking advantage of Mom and Dad. I have been ignoring how much work you do for this family. She wiped her eyes. I didn't know how to stop. This wasn't the reaction I'd been expecting. I thought she would deny everything, or get angry, or try to turn the family against me. I didn't expect her to admit I was right. The numbers don't lie, Madison. You can't continue living like this. Mom and Dad can't continue supporting you like this. I know. She looked at our parents, who were standing together looking shell-shocked. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all of you. I got so caught up in the image I was creating that I lost track of reality. Uncle Frank cleared his throat. Well, this has been enlightening. But maybe we should let you all work this out as a family. People started making their excuses and leaving. Within 20 minutes, it was just me, Madison, and our parents left in her apartment. Mom sat down next to Madison on the couch. Honey, we need to talk about this. About all of this. I know, Madison said. Rebecca's right. I can't keep living like this. Dad was studying my financial report. These numbers are concerning. I didn't realize how much we'd been contributing. I kept telling myself it was temporary, Madison said. That I was just getting started, that once I really made it big, I'd pay you back with interest. But you're not making it big, I said gently. Your growth has stalled, and even if it hadn't, the influencer industry is too unstable to base a whole financial plan on. Madison nodded. So what do I do now? I have no other skills. I dropped out of college to focus on social media. I don't know how to do anything else. You're smart, Madison. You can learn other skills. But first, you need to get honest about your situation. You mean tell my followers the truth? I mean stop pretending to have a lifestyle you can't afford. Stop taking money from Mom and Dad. Start living within your actual means. Madison looked around her expensive apartment. I can't afford this place on my own. Then you need to find a place you can afford. Or get a roommate. Or find additional income sources. But my image. Your image isn't sustainable if it's built on lies. We talked for another hour. It was the most honest conversation our family had ever had. Madison agreed to create a realistic budget based on her actual income. Mom and Dad agreed to stop providing financial support beyond emergencies. And I agreed to help Madison transition to a more honest approach to her social media career. But that's not the end of the story. Over the next 2 weeks, Madison did something I never expected her to do. She started posting honest content about her situation. Not the brutal details, but truthful posts about the challenges of being a content creator, the pressure to maintain a perfect image, and the reality that social media success doesn't always translate to financial stability. Her engagement rates actually improved. It turned out that people were hungry for authenticity, tired of the perfect lifestyle posts that dominated their feeds. Madison's honest content stood out because it was real. She also got a part-time job at a local marketing agency, using her social media knowledge in a more traditional setting. It wasn't glamorous, but it provided steady income and helped her develop new skills. Within a month, she'd moved to a smaller, more affordable apartment, and was living within her means for the first time in years. The family dynamic shifted too. At the next family gathering, people actually noticed when I helped with setup and cleanup. They thanked me, they offered to help, they included me in conversations. Madison made an effort to acknowledge my contributions and to share in the work instead of just being the center of attention. It wasn't perfect, and there were still some tense moments, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was seen and valued by my family. The text I mentioned in the title came from Jake about a week after the birthday party. He called me in a panic. Rebecca, Mom's crying her eyes out. Did you do something? My heart sank. I thought we'd worked everything out. What happened? I asked. She's reading something on Madison's Instagram. Something about family and honesty and owing apologies to people who've been overlooked. It took me a moment to process what he was saying. She's crying because she's proud, Jake continued. Madison posted this really heartfelt thing about you and how much you do for the family. Mom says she never realized how invisible you'd been feeling. I pulled up Madison's Instagram and found the post. It was a photo of the two of us from when we were kids, with a long caption about family dynamics, the pressure to maintain perfect images, and gratitude for siblings who keep you grounded in reality. She didn't share the specific details of what had happened at her party, but she wrote about learning to see and appreciate people who work behind the scenes, about the importance of honesty in relationships, and about making changes to live more authentically. The post got more engagement than anything she'd shared in months. Comments poured in from people who related to feeling invisible, from other content creators struggling with authenticity, from people who appreciated her honesty. That's when I realized that maybe, just maybe, I'd done the right thing. It's been 3 months since Madison's birthday party, and things are still changing in our family. Madison and I have a better relationship now, built on honesty and mutual respect instead of resentment and ignored inequality. Mom and Dad have started rebuilding their savings and making plans for their actual retirement instead of funding Madison's lifestyle. And me? I'm no longer invisible. I'm seen, appreciated, and valued for who I am and what I contribute. Some people might think I went too far, ambushing Madison at her own birthday party with financial reports and family drama. Maybe they're right. Maybe there was a gentler way to handle the situation. But I tried gentle approaches for years and nothing changed. Sometimes you have to make a dramatic gesture to break through years of established patterns and force people to see the truth you've been avoiding. I don't regret what I did. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret doing it. Madison learned that authenticity is more valuable than a perfect image. My parents learned to see me as more than just the reliable helper. And I learned that sometimes you have to demand the recognition and respect you deserve instead of hoping someone will eventually notice your worth. The family dynamic we have now isn't perfect, but it's honest. And after years of being invisible, honesty feels like a gift. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's the only foundation you can build real relationships on. And for the first time in my adult life, I feel like I have real relationships with my family instead of just being the person who cleans up their messes. That's worth a little birthday party drama.